Most people over 60 focus on what they eat during the day, breakfast choices, cutting sugar, avoiding heavy meals, but very few people ever ask a much more important question. What is happening to your blood sugar while you sleep? Because the truth is this: for many older adults, the first signs of metabolic trouble don't begin at the dinner table. They begin quietly in the hours before bedtime. You may be doing everything right during the day, eating healthy foods, walking regularly, taking your medications, yet still waking up tired, foggy, or craving sugar by mid-morning. And what many people never realize is that the problem might not be your diet, it might be your nighttime habits. Over the last few years, researchers studying aging and metabolism have discovered something surprising. The small routines people follow in the evening, what they eat, how they sleep, what they do before bed, can strongly influence blood sugar regulation overnight. And for adults over 60, those hours of sleep are when the body performs some of its most important metabolic repairs. But if the wrong signals are sent before bed, the opposite can happen. Blood sugar may quietly spike, hormones can fall out of rhythm, sleep becomes lighter, and over time, the body slowly begins to lose its ability to manage glucose effectively. Which means something that feels harmless today can gradually increase the risk of insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes years later. Today we're going to talk about 5 nighttime habits that many adults over 60 follow without thinking, habits that may quietly raise blood sugar while you sleep. The science behind them is fascinating, and the solutions are often surprisingly simple. And the last habit is one almost nobody expects, yet it may be the most powerful one of all. So if you or someone you love is over 60 and wants better sleep, steadier energy, and healthier blood sugar levels, stay with me. Let's begin with the first habit. And it's something many people believe is healthy: going to bed hungry. For years, many people have followed the rule that eating late at night is bad for your metabolism, so dinner gets earlier and earlier. Some people finish eating by 5 p.m., others stop eating entirely after sunset. At first glance, that sounds like discipline. But after the age of 60, the body doesn't always respond the same way it did decades earlier. As we age, insulin sensitivity naturally declines. The body becomes slightly less efficient at managing blood sugar swings. When someone stops eating too early and then sleeps for 7 or 8 hours, the overnight fasting window can become extremely long, sometimes 14 hours or more. During that time, blood sugar may begin to drop too low while you sleep. And when that happens, the body activates a stress response. It releases cortisol and other hormones designed to raise glucose levels quickly. That nighttime hormonal surge can interrupt deep sleep, increase blood pressure, and push blood sugar back up in the middle of the night. Many people never notice it happening, but they often feel the effects the next morning. They wake up tired even after a full night of sleep. Their mind feels foggy, hunger appears early in the day, and cravings for carbohydrates become stronger. Over time, these repeated nighttime stress responses can slowly contribute to insulin resistance. I once spoke with a retired university professor who followed what she believed was the perfect health routine: dinner at 5:30 p.m. every evening, no snacks, lights out before 10. Yet she kept waking up around 2 or 3 in the morning and couldn't fall back asleep. Her blood tests eventually showed early signs of prediabetes. After looking closely at her routine, we introduced a very small change: a light, balanced snack about an hour before bedtime. Nothing heavy, just something gentle for the metabolism. A few almonds, a spoonful of yogurt, sometimes half of a boiled egg. Within a week, her nighttime awakenings began to disappear. Within a month, her fasting glucose levels improved noticeably. The lesson here is simple: after 60, stability often matters more than strict restriction. Going to bed extremely hungry can send the body into stress mode overnight, but a small, balanced evening snack can help maintain steady blood sugar levels while you sleep. Now let's talk about the second nighttime habit that quietly affects blood sugar, and this one surprises many people. Many adults treat sleep schedules as flexible. One night they go to bed at 9:30, another night it's midnight. Weekends may look completely different from weekdays. As long as they get enough hours of sleep overall, it seems harmless. But the body operates on something much more delicate than we often realize: your circadian rhythm. This internal clock controls when hormones are released, when digestion slows down, when cells repair themselves, and how efficiently your body uses insulin. When sleep timing changes constantly, that internal clock becomes confused. Hormones begin to drift out of alignment. Cortisol may rise at the wrong times, melatonin may appear later than it should, and insulin sensitivity can decrease. Think of your metabolism like an orchestra. When every instrument plays at the correct time, the music is smooth and balanced. But if each musician begins playing at random moments, the entire system becomes chaotic. The same thing happens inside the body. Recent studies following adults over 60 have shown that individuals with highly irregular sleep schedules have a significantly higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes, even when their total sleep time is the same. In other words, it's not just how long you sleep, it's when you sleep. A consistent bedtime helps synchronize the body's metabolic signals. When sleep begins at roughly the same time every night, the brain prepares the body for restoration. Hormones shift gradually, blood sugar stabilizes, cells enter repair mode. But when bedtime constantly moves around, the system struggles to keep up. Many people notice the signs without realizing the cause. They wake up feeling strangely groggy after late nights, even if they slept long enough. Morning hunger feels stronger, energy dips earlier in the day, sugar cravings increase. These are subtle signals that metabolic rhythm is out of sync. The solution isn't complicated. Choose a bedtime that works for your lifestyle and stay close to it. Even on weekends, create a simple evening routine that signals to the body that night has arrived. Reduce stimulation. Let your nervous system settle into a predictable rhythm. Consistency may seem boring, but biologically it is incredibly powerful. And when sleep becomes rhythmic, metabolism often becomes more stable as well. Now let's move to the third nighttime habit that almost nobody connects to blood sugar: mild dehydration before bed. And this one is far more common than people think. Now let's continue with the third nighttime habit that quietly interferes with blood sugar regulation: going to bed mildly dehydrated. This might sound like a small issue, but as people age, it becomes far more important than most realize. After the age of 60, the body's natural thirst signals become weaker. Many older adults simply don't feel thirsty as often as they once did. On top of that, a lot of people intentionally reduce their fluid intake in the evening because they want to avoid waking up at night to use the bathroom. At first glance, that seems reasonable. But when the body goes into sleep already dehydrated, several subtle changes begin to happen. Blood becomes slightly thicker, circulation slows a bit, and the organs responsible for managing glucose, especially the liver and kidneys, cannot function as efficiently as they should. Even mild dehydration can interfere with how insulin travels through the bloodstream and how glucose is processed by cells. Over time, this can contribute to insulin resistance. Researchers studying hydration and metabolism have repeatedly found that even small drops in hydration levels can impair glucose control. And because sleep is when the body performs many of its metabolic repair processes, dehydration during those hours can make the problem worse. I remember speaking with a retired carpenter who had been struggling with rising blood sugar levels despite maintaining a relatively healthy diet. He insisted he rarely felt thirsty. In fact, he proudly told me he avoided drinking water after dinner so he could sleep through the night without interruptions. When we looked closer, it became clear that his hydration levels throughout the day were extremely low. We made one simple adjustment. Instead of avoiding fluids completely in the evening, he began drinking a small cup of warm herbal tea about an hour before bed. Nothing excessive, just enough to keep the body gently hydrated. Within weeks, his blood sugar numbers began improving, and he reported deeper sleep and clearer mornings. The key here is balance. You don't need to drink large amounts of water right before bed, but a small glass of water or herbal tea about 60 to 90 minutes before sleep can help support circulation, kidney function, and overnight metabolic balance. Sometimes the smallest changes make the biggest difference. Now let's talk about habit number 4. And this one has become extremely common in modern life: screen exposure before bed. Television, smartphones, laptops. For many people, the last thing they see before falling asleep is a glowing screen. It feels relaxing. Maybe you're watching a show, checking messages, or scrolling through the news. But what many people don't realize is that the light from these devices sends a powerful signal directly to the brain. Especially blue light. Your brain uses light to determine whether it is daytime or nighttime. When bright blue light enters the eyes in the evening, it suppresses the production of melatonin, the hormone responsible for preparing the body for sleep. But melatonin does more than help you fall asleep. It also plays a role in regulating glucose metabolism. When melatonin rhythms are disrupted, insulin sensitivity can decrease. In simple terms, your body becomes less efficient at handling blood sugar the next morning. Researchers at Harvard Medical School once conducted an experiment where participants were exposed to bright light in the evening before sleep. The result was striking. After just one night, insulin sensitivity dropped significantly the following morning. That means the body struggled more to control blood sugar levels after breakfast. And for adults over 60, this effect can be even stronger because the body's hormonal systems are already more sensitive to disruption. Many people wake up groggy and hungry after nights of heavy screen exposure and assume it's just poor sleep. But often, it's actually a hormonal shift that began the night before. A simple strategy can make a big difference. About 1 hour before bedtime, start reducing exposure to bright screens. Dim the lights in your home. If you want to relax, try reading a physical book, listening to calm music, or simply having a quiet conversation. Allow your brain to recognize that night has arrived. When the brain receives that signal clearly, melatonin rises naturally, sleep becomes deeper, and blood sugar regulation improves overnight. Now we come to the fifth and perhaps most overlooked nighttime habit of all: going to bed with a stressed or overactive mind. Many people think of stress as something that happens during the day: work pressure, financial worries, family responsibilities. But nighttime stress can be just as powerful. Lying in bed replaying conversations from the day, thinking about unfinished tasks, worrying about tomorrow, scrolling through upsetting news. All of these experiences activate the body's stress response. And the hormone responsible for that response is cortisol. Cortisol's job is to prepare the body for action. It raises blood sugar levels to provide quick energy. That's helpful during real danger. But when cortisol rises every night because the mind cannot relax, blood sugar may remain elevated throughout the night. Over months and years, this repeated hormonal signal can contribute to insulin resistance. In other words, the body gradually becomes less responsive to insulin, and it often begins with something as simple as chronic bedtime stress. I once worked with a retired schoolteacher who had excellent eating habits and stayed physically active. Yet her blood sugar levels continued creeping upward. When we examined her evenings more closely, we discovered that she spent her last hour of the day watching intense crime shows, reading news articles, and answering emails while already lying in bed. Her brain was constantly stimulated. We introduced a small change. 15 minutes before bed, she replaced those activities with gentle stretching, quiet breathing, and writing a few thoughts in a journal. Within a few weeks, her sleep improved dramatically. Even more interesting, her morning glucose readings dropped by nearly 20 points. The body responds strongly to the emotional signals we send it before sleep. If the nervous system enters the night in a calm state, the body can restore itself. But if the mind remains tense and alert, the body continues operating in stress mode even while lying still. This is why creating a calming wind-down routine can be so powerful. Soft lighting, quiet music, light stretching, slow breathing, simple activities that tell the nervous system it is safe to rest. Because here is the truth most people never hear: your body is still listening while you sleep. Every choice you make before bedtime sends a message to your cells. What you eat, how you hydrate, the light your eyes absorb, the thoughts your mind holds. When those signals are calm, balanced, and rhythmic, the body repairs itself overnight. Blood sugar stabilizes, hormones reset, energy returns the next morning. But when those signals are chaotic, the body struggles to recover, and the damage often begins quietly long before it appears on a blood test. So tonight, pay attention to the small rituals that lead into sleep. Because sometimes the path to better health doesn't begin with a major change. It begins with the quiet habits that shape the night.